Caring for someone with dementia is one of the toughest journeys, but you don't have to do it alone. I'm Allison Schreier, and my experience caring for my husband inspired me to create Zinnia, a therapeutic streaming service designed to support people living with dementia and reduce caregiver stress. Our research-backed videos are engaging, easy to follow, and they help ease the daily challenges like agitation and anxiety so that you can focus on connection and joy. Available by subscription on mobile and TV apps, Zinnia makes every day a little bit easier. Go to zinniatv.com and sign up for a free trial today. Use the code RESOURCE for 15% off an annual Zinnia subscription.
And welcome to Alzheimer's Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori LeBay, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. We are going to have a fascinating conversation as usual as we learn from people all around the world at all ages and stages of life. Stay tuned as we shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort.
Here we go. What you think about, you will bring about.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer's Speaks. I'm thrilled you can join us today. We are going to be talking about elder care, and we're going to be comparing India to the U.S., which will be a really interesting conversation. And we have two gentlemen from India who I'll be introducing you to shortly. But before I do that, I just want to give a huge congratulations out to Dementia Together. They celebrated their 10th anniversary. They had this fantastic fundraiser that I was able to be at in Colorado, and they're just doing magnificent work. And they actually raised more money than what they were asking for, which is really exciting because they're very conscientious on their spending, and they are looking at kind of broadening, not just from northern Colorado, which is who they specifically serve, but getting out into the rural areas and well beyond to even different countries with their Speckle program, which is a really, really cool training program for both families and professionals. I also want to remind people that Maud's Awards is available, and they are taking applications until May 19th. That is where you can apply as an individual and win up to $5,000, or an organization and win $25,000. And then again, that is for work that you have already done. So you can go to maudsawards.org on that. And then, of course, I always like to tell people, don't forget about Alzheimer's Speaks. We have tons of free educational resources there. So please go to alzheimersspeaks.com and check that out. Or, of course, if you're looking for a speaker and trainer, I also do that as well. And then again, there's our sister company, Dementia Map, that offers global resources. We have two gentlemen from India here, and we're going to do a comparison of what's going on over there versus what's going on here in the U.S. And I'm really excited to have this conversation. So I'm honored to have Dr. Dipankar with us, and we have Pankaj with us as well. So I'm going to have each of these gentlemen introduce themselves because they can do a much, much better job. So Dr. Dipankar, do you want to go first, please?
No problem. Thank you. Thank you, Lori, for this opportunity and to talk to you over this meeting over here. And actually, to introduce myself, I'm practicing in Kolkata, that is India. West Bengal is the state, as geriatric medicine since 2008, basically. And geriatrics still a very nascent subject in India. Very few people understand what is geriatrics or elder care medicine here. And it is not still widely available in clinics or hospitals, but still we have to go forward with it. People are now gradually becoming aware regarding this geriatric care, and I practice as the consultant geriatric medicine in some hospitals, and especially the home care. We have to take part care of the patients who are especially at home after discharge. Also, this thing we have a organization called 60 Plus Clinic and Care, which takes care of this home care parts of the patients basically and elderly people.
Wonderful. And Pankaj, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, please, to our audience?
Yeah, Laurie, firstly, thank you for having us for this lovely meeting. I worked in the private sector. I have a total experience around 31 years. I worked in the private sector, mainly the telecom sector, for a good 12, 13 years. And then I've been involved with the elderly care sector, the aged care sector, from the past 20 years now. And the work which I'm doing is primarily trying to create the standards, guidelines, and the resources which should be available and which needs to be spread across the country. So mainly it's a combination of two experiences, the corporate experience as well as the aged care experience. So in brief, that is what the summary of my career has been.
Okay, wonderful. Well, let's go ahead and start. And I'm going to go to Dr. Dipankar first. And if you can tell us if you've been personally touched by dementia in your own family or circle of friends, and then Pankaj, I'll go to you next, okay?
Sure.
Mm, to be very clear about it, still now dementia means my father was around 88 when he expired. So last 2 or 3 years, that is not very severe dementia what I experienced, but very early stage basically, very basic things what I experienced. But that was not a problem for the family or to manage all these things over here. But what I see in my personal life or practice, if you tell, there are lots of people in lower age group also is coming with dementia, and while taking care of these people, while they are basically as a patient at their home and advanced stages of Alzheimer's and this thing, it is a very disturbing situations in some family where the people are absolutely becoming mad, don't know how to manage the patients. They put the patients on the caregivers. And these caregivers in another thing that is absolutely no-no in India, basically, or in Kolkata. Other states might be in some advanced stages, means advanced, they have training or something, but still I doubt about it in India. And one more factor is there is no, since there is no training and the people are coming from very means uncategorized group. Anyone is coming for this caregiver jobs basically to attend the patient as an attendant. Basically, they're patient attendant, and then they tell themselves that yes, I do take care of the patient. No formal training. They don't know how to take care. Patients means doing toilets in the home, loitering everywhere. So it is a very disturbing thing. And even they beat the caregiver or sometimes attacks the caregiver, and that is a very common problem, these dementia patients over here. We don't have specifically another thing is any institution or any homes where they specially take care of the elderly this dementia patient, how to take care of this thing. There is absolutely no in our state, basically. There is no such thing until now. That is.
Wow. Okay. And then Pankaj, how about you? Have you been personally touched by dementia?
Oh yes, yes. I have been personally touched. Two members in my family. They faced dementia for almost a period of 10 to 12 years, and one of them were who became very aggressive, and at a later stage, but initially obviously it was fine, but towards the full blown dementia, obviously they didn't know whether they are using the toilet or whether they are actually doing the toilet with while sitting, and anyone used to come close used to start using a stick to hit them. So this was one part. Second part was second person was he was very docile, obviously did not have any aggressive nature, but whenever given an opportunity, he used to quietly slip out of the house. So there's so many times that we found him on the road, loitering here, loitering there. So these are the two extremes which which I have personally seen, and both of them are reasonably quite scary and quite stressful on the family members, because you can't lock the person as such, but at the same time, you have to ensure that the doors are locked, or even if the doors are locked, I don't know where they get the smartness to open it and just escape. So these can be fatal accidents, or can be fatal issues which are there. But yes, I think it's dementia is impacting some way or the other in every family, whether it's immediate family, or it is in a larger circle of the family, I would say.
Okay. One of the things I'll just add that people do here for people who wander and get out is, instead of locking the regular door, is putting an additional lock up higher, because then people aren't looking for that. They're going back with old memory of how they've always done it. And so then they won't look up and go, oh, there's a little lock there that I have to just slide off.
Okay, yeah, that's a good input. That's a very good input.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. And then some people do little door alarms there, where you can buy them fairly cheap over here in the US, or we used to. Who knows with tariffs what'll happen now, but the little sensor, so it would beep when it goes off. And some of these can connect to phones. So if let's say if a family member is at work and a loved one's at home, or maybe they're, doing laundry and in another room or something like that, it'll buzz them on their phone that it's gone, and they set up like little cameras. And I don't know if that would work for some people as well over there, but that's I have so many people in my support groups using something like that. And the cameras are portable, so even if they go out into their backyard and maybe they're doing some gardening, they can still know if the person went outside the area via the camera. It'll notify them of the movement, if they get out of their chair and stuff. So just a couple of things there that we have learned on that. Dr. Dipankar, I want to know what you think is important culturally, regarding the sensitivity to just caring for older people in general over in India. What's working, what's not working over there.
Actually, culturally, it differs from religion to religion, but everyone has got the same thing. See, you cannot means do strict control over that person, since he is a senior people person and all these things, where we have a tradition of respecting the senior people. Okay, as a father, grandfather, anything like this, that becomes a very common thing. And in that way, culturally, more or less, if you take into account, everyone respects the seniors or these older people in the same way. Otherwise, there are many evidences of abuses also in the family. This dementia patient, they're more prone to abuse, especially by the attendants and the people who are taking care from outside. We hear about those things also. And it is common in some families also, but it is not that very common that they are disrespected or in that way. Still, their children or grandchildren come to us. He is becoming insane. How to take care of him? He is becoming this like this. How to keep him better ways, or all these things, or how he can better life. Still, they are searching for ways out. Or even some people come to, we can do anything for better treatment or how to control it. All these things are there. But still, since these facilities are not that available or easily available, even what you were saying about these locks and other things, we did not think about it any time before, basically, until you are telling these things. So that is the experience where it comes into the play and the treatment of the patients also. And most people just, the doctors also just shun it off. No, we don't see this type of patient. You go to a neurologist or a psychiatrist, or this just a very common thing that the people tell it. This is he has become mad or something. You can't do anything. Go to a psychiatrist or to psychiatric homes, basically. Where very commonly in India we have a concept of mad people's home like that. Okay, so they push it in that way just to shed off the responsibility and the trouble from their head. That is the basic thing. It happens sometimes, and not too much cultural differentiation. What is the thing what we have seen here? Basically, I'll put in the way that ignorance is there. We don't have the experience. We don't have these trained people. There is not that much of training among the doctors also. But specialty is not there. That is the main thing, basically.
I would like to just add, especially in the North Indian states, Typically, what we have seen here is some states the people are more uh, are more empathetic towards taking care of the elderly people. But some states the people are not really having the mindset only to do it. Like in India, if you really look the state of Kerala, you get some of the best nurses in the world coming from Kerala because their mindset is of a service mindset. They come from a uh, certain kind of a community, and they are trained to basically be empathetic to the particular patient or to the particular cause. And whereas North India, certain places like let's say Haryana or Rajasthan, they may not be out of let's say 100. If Kerala can give 90 good caregivers or 90 nurses, then probably Haryana will be a state which is more of an agricultural state, and they're not really service oriented. So that is very prevalent in the northern belt, because if too much of because I speak to a lot of these care homes, especially in Rajasthan and Gujarat and thing. So you have a lot of migrant people who come for these work, and you have to be very sensitive and very polite with the staff. The moment you give a little bit of tension to them, they'll just pack off in the middle of the night and run away. So this is a big
Definitely.
kind of a big problem. Whereas the same thing will not happen with people from Kerala. They will finish their job and then tell you on your face that this is probably not my scope of work, but they will not run away in the middle of the night. So there is a certain kind of a thing, at least in this side of the belt. Eastern side probably is again what Dr. Dipankar is saying is
What happens here? There is a language barrier. Okay. So in Eastern India, what we face basically the Bengalis and these things. The Keralites are not very convenient with Hindis or Bengalis. That's why they are not taken into the job or not given this type of things. And they especially prefer to work in the hospitals. And another group comes from the Northeast India, these Manipurs and all these things. They also become very good nurses and caregivers, basically.
Okay.
correct. So cultural, but so I think language barrier is quite
That is
a
a
big issue.
big problem here.
Big problem here. Because a North Indian person who's talking of Punjabi or in Rajasthani will never be able to go and work in Kerala or in Tamil Nadu or any of the southern states. Similarly, if
Definitely.
these people can't speak, if a Tamilian comes and starts working in Punjab, he will not be able to converse with it. And also, over there, the people will not be very accepting also of that caregiver, because they would like someone from their own clan. So
Definitely.
definitely, so there is a certain element of cross-state barriers, I would say.
As far as cost goes, do you see a difference between, the eastern side that you feel cares a little better versus the western side of the country?
No, that is difficult to say, okay, but the cost is actually differs from area to area because where you will see easily available manpower and these things. So the cost is much less over there, and where there are means depends on the area. What to say that Delhi is much more costlier than Kolkata. So that is the thing, the price range or the wages and these things, that thing varies basically. And what we have seen basically, this type of you will get very easily this manpower very cheaply in Kolkata, but not in Delhi. It is at most twice as double at Delhi. And in Kolkata also it differs. Means somewhere it is only you will get a manpower for 400 rupees. Otherwise, in areas of Kolkata that is sometimes it's a higher for what you say, the Salt Lake Newtown areas, that is a high affluent areas. There is roughly nothing comes less than 600 rupees or like that. So there is a price difference that depends on the area.
Okay. Okay. I know here in the US we're kind of all over the board. And I mean we're a huge country and every state kind of does their own thing and has different regulations and things. And there's some federal mandates out there for training, but state to state, things are a little bit different. I know we have had some challenges too with staff and especially in the beginning, I think when we had more immigrants coming into the field, where people they could speak English, but the understanding or the heavy accent made it more difficult, to be able to work with. And then for the residents, that was very complicated, for them as individuals as a whole there. So it's kind of interesting to see how things have transpired over the years, but we're still having huge staff shortages since COVID. We weren't really, people always wanted more staff, but it has gotten, since COVID, it had gotten way worse, and we still haven't come back to full staffing ratios the way they once were. Are you seeing that over there as well?
When it comes to the standards and guidelines for the aged care sector or the elderly care sector, what we call it, there's hardly anything really with teeth as such. India is very similar to the US and to Canada, where in Canada you have the provinces and the state province guidelines, as well as in the states when you have the state guidelines, but obviously with a central kind of overall standard. India, again, housing and social welfare is a state subject. So the guidelines, the generic guidelines are suggested by the central government, but their implementation at the state level is the decision of the state government or the state social welfare department. Due to which, what happens is even if the best of standards are generated, created, it never gets implemented at the ground level. So, and besides that, also, whatever little standard the central government has created, I would say, those are very general standards without really giving too much of a direction or a step-by-step guide to how these kind of standards should be implemented. Like in Australia, you have some very strong standards and which is applicable to across the country. And whether it is UK where they have the NHS control regulating it. So in Australia also you have this accreditation, the Quality Commission of Australia. Unfortunately, in India we don't have any such thing, and we don't have any kind of assessors or the auditors. We have a board called NABH, National Accreditation Board for Hospitals. They have come out with a guideline, but then again, accreditation is a voluntary thing, voluntary act. So a lot of people or a lot of organizations or the agencies will not get into it. And the second reason is a lot of these care homes are operated by charitable organizations. So when they are operating on a free of cost basis, their objective is to give them basic boarding and lodging. So if suppose someone comes and tells them, okay, these are standards you have to follow, they'll straight away throw you out and say either we can give them some basic standards or we can shut shop. So don't come and teach us things which is not practical, because neither do they have the money, nor do they have the staff strength, nor do they have the staff education. So it's a long battle. It is something which will happen, and I think around 90% of the homes in the country are unregistered and unregulated. So there is definitely a huge challenge which has to be addressed, and so slowly we are getting through it.
So for families, do they really lean on trying to keep their person home versus putting them in a care home if there aren't standards?
See, it is a matter of a need. The people who can afford it, and especially the the Indian diaspora which has moved out of the country, they can afford the higher end facilities and put them into care homes which have certain standards, at least better than the rest of them which are available. But on a middle class level, which who's like still not rich, not poor, for them it can take a toll on the financial side of it. So it is growing. It's not that the acceptability of care homes and home care is growing, but affordability is still a challenge in terms of obviously the prices will never come down as such, but the people who have the money are being more open to it because they can simply afford it.
Sure. Sure. I know here, for memory care, it can cost, 8 to I've seen as high as $18,000 a month, depending on, and most people just can't afford that, and everyone's trying to keep people home as long as they can. We have a new program through our Medicaid and services called the Guide program that is really trying to focus on keeping people at home, supporting actually the caregiver, to give them more tools and support so that they can kind of maintain their sanity and feel like they're not so alone in the process. But that's rolling out very, very slowly. It's projected to be, I think, 8 years. And I think in the first round, which rolled out last July, there was only 90 organizations in the whole U.S., which is nothing, And I think they've got 400 more online. But again, that's nothing for the size of our country. So it's going to be interesting how this progresses. And I think there's going to be a lot of like with anything, there's a lot of pain that comes with trying to implement change and stuff. So I think there'll be some growing pains and stuff, but they have built in some support financially for like respite care or adult day and things like that. But I still, for me, I would like to see them really focus on social support. There's so many services that we have in the US and that are available around the world that people can tap into, especially if they have the internet, that they're just not aware of. And that can be something as simple as a Facebook group to a memory cafe. And that's where people are able to talk with others going through the same thing. It takes away that loneliness, takes away the embarrassment, and even the frustration of how do I deal with this, because they share their true stories. And I think, my mom lived with dementia for 30 years, and I remember that loneliness. I remember not really being able to explain it to friends or even family members. Family member might come and visit for a half an hour, and go, oh, they're fine, and it's like, no, stay with them for a day. You'll see it's not fine, and what's truly going on. So the education and support is just so important.
Caring for someone with dementia is one of the toughest journeys, but you don't have to do it alone. I'm Allison Schreier, and my experience caring for my husband inspired me to create Zinnia, a therapeutic streaming service designed to support people living with dementia and reduce caregiver stress. Zinnia offers research-backed videos intentionally created for people with dementia, engaging, calming, and easy to follow. Whether you need to ease agitation, create moments of joy, or make daily routines smoother, Zinnia is here to help. Family and professional caregivers use our content to turn challenges into opportunities for connection. Accessible by subscription on mobile devices and connected TVs, Zinnia is simple to use whenever you need it. Because when caregiving feels easier, life feels better. Go to zinniatv.com and sign up for a free trial today. Use the code RESOURCE for 15% off an annual Zinnia subscription.
Doctor, would you like to add anything to what Pankaj just said?
Actually, the problem is we have to have or start this training for the manpowers first of all. Okay, what I want to say is that we have to start the training. With that, we have to increase the awareness, because this awareness or patient education, what we say basically, is very, very poor in our country. Okay, so as a doctor, when we see the patient, we only see the patient. There is no thing called this patient education programs. Okay, what is very common in your country over there, what we see basically, then no one bothers to educate the patient. Okay, and no one even bothers to tell the patient what is actually dementia, what type of dementia, what are the stages, or just to put in their heads so how this patient will go through the stages of dementia basically. So these things are there basically. So it is very much needed that we have to have a trained manpower, because it is totally a manpower job. When our older person gets this thing, we have to have the caring person. Caregivers should be trained. The family members should be trained, and they should be given
given up. It's what is pre-exemptive, exemptive what you tell the how this patient will behave in coming 2 years or 3 years time of life, how to approach this patient. Sometimes the dementia patient get forgets that they can't approach or know what is thing. They get angry very quickly. They try to quarrel with other people and all these things. Then these things are very well needed basically. And treatment is also very poor over here. Some gives just sedatives. A patient give them some sedative, patient will sleep and they will not disturb. So this is not the way to approach a patient of dementia. So these things also need to be taken care of. And last of all is the cost, because is see here the most of the healthcare has to be borne by the patient and their family. Okay, so government support is very poor regarding this, at least almost nil, because there is no support for dementia patient. You don't have the insurance also. Insurance even doesn't give you any service for this dementia patient. So it is totally out of your pocket. And if you have to hire a care manager or to see a 24 hours nurse or anything for the patient, so that will eat up half of your salary or your pension amount or what you want the month of that family. That is another big problems basically. And other things are we have to wait and see.
Yeah. A lot of people think over here that our physicians are really well trained. And I know there'll people that might attack me on this, but I don't care. They're not. There are a handful that do an excellent job and refer people out, and they have a compassionate voice and they actually understand what's going on in the trenches. But the majority of them, it can take anywhere from 2 to 5 years to get a diagnosis, because the doctors go to depression, midlife crisis, all of those stress, those types of things. And, we're seeing a lot more younger people getting this. This isn't just someone in their 80s and 90s. And so that's changed the game plan. So it's, it's really, really difficult. One of the most common things, and my audience has heard this from me a million times, but it's important to understand how that diagnosis is even given. So typically when they go to the doctor, they'll get a diagnosis, they'll get a medication, they'll get another appointment to come back. And then on the way out the door, they're told to get their affairs in order. And some are still being told a very short time frame to live. And they'll go out to their car and they'll cry for a couple of hours before they can even drive home. I mean, they are so devastated. And I just came back from visiting a group in Colorado here in the States called Dementia Together. And they actually assemble a packet of resources that are given to the doctors, and the doctors then give it to the patient, which is a really simple thing. Some tips on how to live, all their educational programs, and to be able to reach out. And they don't charge families a nickel, for that information. They raise pretty much all their money privately to be able to do that. And what I love about that particular group, because again, I see this is a big problem in the U.S., is we have raised funds by fear, not hope. And so this group is raising funds by giving hope and giving connection and engagement. And what was very evident when I was at their fundraiser just last week was even after a family's journey ends, they stay with this organization and they want to continue to support. They want to volunteer. They give their time and their money because they know how critical and what an impact it had. So, if we can get, that mindset, I say to shift from a mindset to a heart.
That's true.
It makes a huge, huge difference in giving people hope and, letting them know that they're not alone, they're not ostracized, that there are things we can do. And some of the stuff is really, really simple. But again, we've been told it's complicated because that's how people raise money is you need us, so you have to give us money because you couldn't do this on your own. But there's a lot of things that are just get into multisensory communication, slowing down, paying attention to, someone's facial expressions or gestures, looking for environmental irritations that could be crowds or loud noises, which could be anything from a TV or radio with bad news on it, that's getting somebody with dementia really anxious, to lighting, to colors on the floor, like dark colors. If you're on a lighter floor and there's a dark color in front of you, people think it's a hole. And so there's lots of little things that don't cost money, to really understand once we slow down, in the
Correct.
process, and really. But again, we live in a fast-paced world. Nobody wants to slow down. And my mom really taught me was just to slow down and appreciate the moment. And she made me live more presently than, worrying about the loss and worrying about the future. Because when you're in both of those zones, what I found is you can't find the joy and you can't create it when you're not living in the present. And that's a real simple shift once you kind of talk about that. And I think we've taken here in the U.S. we have, with our staff, micromanaged so much. We've taken the fun in the relationship out of the job, which really drew the type of people that you want to be in a caring profession. We've kind of pushed them out, or taken away what they originally came in to do. And so it's interesting kind of evaluating all of this stuff. Was there anything more that either of you wanted to state about the regulation of governments? I know we touched on that, but was there anything more that you wanted to talk about?
See, I would like to just compare it, because India has been more or less following the British legislative acts and British concepts. So, if you really compare the Indian elder care laws with respect to the British laws, we are still nowhere across. We have copied most of the laws from there, but when it comes to this particular sector, we are still reasonably clueless what to do. Like, for example, you have a Mental Capacity Act in the UK. Okay. And till a few years back, we didn't have anything like that.
Mhm.
We really did not have anything like that. It is recently which has come, and that also has come as a Mental Health Care Act. I
Uh-huh.
understand the UK Mental Capacity Act, they have their own challenges, but still, it is still a guiding document. Now, when it comes to the Indian Mental Health Care Act, it I think came in 2017, and there is no word actually mentioned as on dementia there officially. Okay, it basically talks about mental illness. So, in my opinion, or I'm sure Dr. Debnath will subscribe to the same logic, is like mental health is not only mental illness. When you're talking of
Definitely, definitely,
entire portfolio, you have to talk about dementia also. Okay, you have to talk about memory care also.
definitely,
And when dementia care comes in, then you need to specify the standards which should be done. Like it talks about restraints policy. Life doesn't happen, or regulations cannot be made by just by copy paste half of it. Either you follow full of it, or you create your own standards. So when it
definitely,
comes to dementia, and suppose you have to restrain a person, when the word itself is not there, how can they implement this particular legislative act? So that is one. Second, the oldest act which we had, which came into existence, was the maintenance of parents and older people.
parents maintenance bill.
Parents maintenance bill. Okay, that initially came in because the children were not taking care of the parents and throwing them out of the house. So just to secure their financial future, this thing came in. But after that, they have not come up with an amendment. It is it is such a one-sided kind of a document that they will just talking about financial assistance. Life is not that. When you're talking of an act, there has to be a elder care act, or like Australia has a aged care act. You have to have elder abuse involved in that. What are the clauses into that? What are the punishments into that? So it has to be a well thought out document which makes it into a legislative act. We are not able to go beyond the bill part. So the bill is typically when you make a document, you give it to the assembly as a bill. And when the president signs it on that, or the president of India, then it becomes an act. So we are very good in making half progress, but not getting it done fully. And
Definitely.
unfortunately, this is not a segment where we are really looking at it on at a serious level. Today, we are at 10.5. Just imagine we are like 150 million plus older people. Most of the European countries don't even have that kind of population. And over here, just
Absolutely.
one
Absolutely.
segment of our population is that. For example, like if I compare it to the US, uh, we are one third your land mass, land size, and we are three times your population.
Yeah.
So just imagine one third the land mass and three times the population. So it becomes a double whammy. How do I take care of social welfare then?
It's a
Now,
big one.
Pankaj, and over that, when it becomes the matter of health, it becomes a state affair. I have got
Correct.
the act and this thing. Okay, India government can imply the do that act, but it is up to the state to implement it or not. They accept it or not. So it is a
So
huge variation among the states. Some state accepts,
correct.
some state doesn't accept. So there is no uniformity. They have divided
Like
that thing in the first space that health is a state affair. So how can
correct.
the central government interfere with that? So that is also another problem over there.
So there are, Lori, there are two type of programs which are run in the country. One is a program which is run directly by the central government.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so they have the schemes which are supposed to be implemented across the country. So India has 36 states and union territories. So we have 28 states and 8 union territories. So technically, all the states should be benefiting from the central government programs. But then, because of political ideologies, the differences of ideologies in the political mindset, they don't let a lot of schemes get implemented at the grassroots level because it is
Definitely,
just coming
definitely.
from a different ruling party at the center.
Or the
So,
opposition party at the center, basically.
opposition, huh? So for them, they will oppose anything good also. They will not do it
Hmm.
themselves, but at the same time, they'll not let others also do good.
Right.
This,
And it
the
is
same thing is happening
so
in Bengal. No, they will not implement any central government scheme since they are in opposition at the central level. So that is another worst situation in Bengal, basically.
correct.
Okay.
So what healthcare we are talking of then? The state will not give the improve the health system. They will not let the central health system come into place. Then, then how do you really progress?
Oh, that's got to be really frustrating. Now you had mentioned restraints. Do you use physical restraints over in India? You do. Okay, because
Hardly any guidelines on are there on physical constraint, whether it is physical, chemical, or isolation and neglect.
okay.
It's the simplest thing the caregiver will do is just put you in a room and watch his YouTube
Lock
on
you
his
up.
mobile phone.
So
Okay.
not even that. What we see, the caregivers or the attendants come with the sleeping pills in their bag. They will not even tell you. They will mix this and give it to the patient so that they will not disturb you. He or she will have their sleep, they will have their food, they will have their YouTube and all these things, and that person is sleeping at his home, so they will not disturb. That is the easiest way what you see. And there are lots of physical abuse also for this dementia patient from these caregivers and all these things. That is another important part.
Oh gosh, that's so sad. I know initially when restraints went away, people were really worried about how are we going to give care, and we just learn new ways, to be able to do that, and they've really worked hard at decreasing, over drugging people and things like that, and
Mm.
and very interesting to see. But again, through our training. And everyone's trained at different levels, over here as well, and there's a lot of turnover. But people have learned to look for the triggers that are causing the behaviors, and then getting rid of those triggers, or diverting someone to something else, to get their mind off something when they really get settled into things. I do want to give a brief shout out here to my webmaster, who is Q for Good. And you guys, I don't know if you're familiar with them because they're over in India, but they are absolutely fantastic guys to work with, and I just adore them. They are reasonably priced, their communication is excellent, and they really know their stuff and communicate really well. So if you're looking for a webmaster, they're extremely helpful. So check out Q for Good. We have been talking about elder care in India and doing some comparisons with countries, and we're going to get back to that in just a second here. I'm gonna go to Dr. Dipankar, and I want to talk about we've touched on kind of affordability in India, both in home care and assisted living, but we haven't really defined assisted living versus home care and what that looks like. I know what it looks like here in the US, but can you define the difference between those two?
Definitely. See, for home care, basically there is a fixed level of cost depending on the area to area, what I was telling previously, along with the manpower cost. But in assisted living, there are various types of homes. Okay. So from five-star homes to basic homes means they will just give you around 10 feet by 5 feet room and like that, and they will lock you up over there. Hardly minimum payment 5,000 rupees per month to 10,000 rupees per month. So that varies on the cost, what facilities you are asking for from them. Okay. And these things varies. And in home care, what happens? One level of care is fixed. If the patient family is providing the care, then you can cut down the cost. They may or may not look after the patient. They may use the minimum amount of things. And what is the tragic part in many situations, what we see, as since there is a pension going on for the elderly people, many have the pension, they will keep that person alive as long as they can because they can enjoy his pension money. Other people's might not be working and they are thriving on that pension money. So they come and tell me, doctor, my father has to stay alive because he's on pension and my family runs on his pension only. So that is the tragic part. Okay. So how you are doing with the patient and who can afford, they will go to any extent, even 1 lakh to 2 lakh rupees a month for keeping that person, arranging everything, hospital beds to oxygens to everything, whatever not. So that is absolutely depends on the your economic capability. So where the people can go. Everything is available, but the service is very limited, availability is confined, so those things are there basically.
Wow. So for your home care, I'm assuming people come in and visit. Do you have, like, here we have medical home care, and then we have non-medical that would come in and maybe do showers and cooking and cleaning and things like that. Do you have a variable between those two, doctor, if you want to add to that?
Yes, we have, means home care, what we provide basically all types of home care, because if you tell the medical part when it comes in, suppose a patient is having a stroke and then coming back home, okay, so that is a totally medical thing, what we call as post discharge home care. Okay, there is attendants, sisters, regular visit of doctors, physiotherapy, so that is the medical part. Another type of home care is, suppose that person is living alone, he gets frightened or is not confident to go to the bank or get alone, might be some weakness, he's getting a dizziness while getting out of the home, or he needs to go for a shopping. These things are non-medical home care, so everything we have got available, but it is at the cost of our price basically, that comes according to. And what we do, we have packages. A patient can choose his package. Suppose he can call in the caregiver every day a week, basically every day a week, 7 days a week, or he can choose only once a week or once a month. Accordingly, the price goes with the patient basically. So
Okay.
we have these things. It is coming in, and what you have seen mostly the NRI people or the patient people who have got money, they can only afford it since this is a pay from your pocket service basically.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and that's pretty much here too. We get some home care if someone's been hospitalized for a while, and then they'll have services for a bit. But it that's changed over the years as well. So it's constantly moving and shaking what our insurance policies will cover or not. As far as, homes, do you have memory care specific homes there?
No, that is very rare, very rare. Memory care homes, that one Alzheimer's disease was society, but that is they have a daycare. They don't keep patient. Okay, patient comes in the morning and goes home in the evening. Okay, the day long they go for a training or something. So how much it is benefiting, I don't have actual data basically.
Okay.
Okay, and another thing, what is going on in home care basically, now most people are jumping into home care. So they have seen a very good affordable, I mean, some business into it. Other than serving the people or taking care, most of the people are exploiting this home care in India. Since there is no regulation, government has got no guidelines. Uh, the people who are used to supply this attendant and nurses, now they are advertising as we give home care. And some people are smart enough, they know NRIs have monies and these things. They will not look also. They are exploiting. Means some lakhs per year they are charging only for a phone call, or when there will be an emergency, they are going over there. They're bluffing people with gadgets. We are giving you a watch. This will take care of you. Anytime you can call SOS button. For that, yeah, they are charging 20,000 per month. So all these are coming. So exploitation part is also there. So what I will request, the NRIs should also choose this part very carefully. And what I am people can get a guidelines what they should choose. Basically, patient education. They should come awareness. Basically, what is the our plan for this elderly care India to increase the awareness, at least where the people can get a platform where they can look forward what should be there, what should not be there, what is this thing and not thing. Since it is not there, they, instead of serving the people, this thing is coming up in a major way. Some suppose 2 years back there were 4 home care companies in Kolkata. Now there are more than 50, because they knows anytime I give the service to the people, I'll get my money back from there, or I can give them some stories over here. I'm giving this service, that service. People are in fear. I will exploit that fear and I can chunk out that money. So people are turned into an occupation or to their lifelong service instead and since there is a no dedicated manpower or any guidelines, anything like that, that is the major problem here.
Okay. Okay. Punctus, anything you want to add to that?
May I just like to add that this Elderly Care India, when you see the logo, so it was Dr. Dipankar, myself, and one or two more people who tried to initiate this entire volunteer-driven knowledge platform. And so far, we have seen a lot of positive movement which is happening, and the kind of feedback which we receive on our the website or on to the LinkedIn is very encouraging. People from all walks of life are coming, and the feedback they're saying that it's actually helping them. Even the service providers, they have started downloading the standards which Dr. Dipankar has been creating, I've been creating. Besides a kind of a bouquet of all the guidelines, international guidelines, and international best practices. So definitely, I feel that things are changing. They're changing slowly, but the interest which people are showing, it is genuinely very, very, very encouraging that things are happening. But again, most of the people, since they are looking at it on a very superficial manner, and that is where our responsibility, when people like Dr. Dipankar and myself and others who are trying to do it on a genuine basis, but since we are not looking at any commercial gain from this platform as such, so there is a total transparency and a total larger cause which is in the in the mind as such. So I think, yeah, it's these guidelines and some things like that will definitely be created by us and recommended to the governments as well as to the state governments. And if and people have to be wise enough to implement or try to review them and use it for their best of their knowledge, I would say.
I'll just mention this because this might be helpful to you. There is a gal by the name of Linda Burhans, and she is putting on a conference. It's a 3 day online conference that's free, and it'll have a multitude of speakers, and time frames probably might be a little bit difficult for you guys, because it starts like at 9 in the morning and I think goes till 3 or 4 in the afternoon. But if you sign up, you can get the recordings, and that might be something of interest for you just for additional support, over in India for families. And
Definitely, we will try to do that.
Definitely, definitely. This will be a very helpful thing, basically.
yeah,
Because
so
we are still at the learning curve, Lori. So anything which is non-Google, because from Google everyone can download and copy it. So we are looking at real examples and real guideline
Definitely.
guidance from
This
people from the
practical
sector,
experiences, basically.
practical experience, that what counts. And then obviously we'll customize it to the Indian practices, because India is a very different country. So it
sure.
is a very simple country as well as a very complicated country. So we'll have to use our own judgment to see what is the best way of
And the
doing
acceptability to the people, different religion across, basically. That is another factor over there.
Okay. Yep. Well, that's good. And like we had talked before, Pankaj, if you ever want me to do a webinar, I would be more than glad to do something free for people over there, and we could meet and run through it to make sure it's culturally appropriate, and hitting the right points and things that is needed over there. But I would be more than glad to do something like that. I'm so passionate about changing, the world's care culture over there. And again, we have a lot of free resources on Alzheimer's Speaks and also on Dementia Map for people to be able to tap.
Dr. Dipankar, in fact,
Definitely.
Lori has gracefully put our Elderly Care India link on her website, on her so she
Okay,
had said,
okay.
yeah, yes, yes.
Yeah.
So that
Thank
is
you for that.
definitely.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, well, none of us can do this alone, and people all around the world have family and people in need who live, everyone's not always in the same pocket of the area. And so we have to be able to explore that and connect people to, the specific services and stuff that they need. I wanted to talk a little bit more, Dr. Debunker, about the role your government currently plays and the infrastructure. We've touched on that, but is there a vision that you have for the future that you'd like to see, and in terms of the government maybe changing to be able to meet the needs a little bit more? It sounds like you keep getting to the bill, but you never get to the act,
Absolutely. That would be to tell what is as is a dream coming true. Okay. But I think government is not that keen to do it, because you see, it was more than 10 years. The senior citizen, what that NPHC sub act was done, what some guidelines came up, but not a single person or a government or state government or anyone has approved for that in last 10 years. So even if they don't approve for that, how they come up to this thing? Here, India, the first thing comes is the politics. So how can I retain my seat lifelong? Okay, and if dementia or anything investment in that helps them to retain their seat, they're 100% will get them. They're doing that. Otherwise, it is very difficult to do that. So healthcare, they will tell everything about healthcare, but that is the least concerned to most of the government. What I see, not even the central government, they will make the scheme, but the fallacy is there. No, I told you that each state they can opt or not opt. That is up to them. As health state, health is a state affair. That is the most important contradiction over there. There is nothing mandatory. You have to follow this basic health, this thing, that thing. So nothing is there. So it would be very good thing. So government are also following our elderly care India. So we have tried to over here what should be done, what not to be done. If they can do it, it will be a dream coming true. And moreover, that thing what I see basically, we are also growing old every day, by a day, everything. Okay. So that is the future we are looking towards. Everyone looks towards the future. Don't I also don't know I'll be dementing or not in coming future. No one knows that. So we can always think for a better future and be prepared for that as an individual and a team game as much as we can. We can do forward this thing only. So in from January to this April, the 4 months. So this site Elderly Care India has gained a huge momentum. So many people are coming in now. They are basically eye opening. They are also coming to know this thing. This type of thing is there. They're getting everything what they need in one place. It is a one platform. Even the government people are looking into the sites. They are getting their necessary data. So we can create the awareness. We can't force the government. It is up to them. And
Yeah.
one thing happens here, The health minister is the most uneducated person who is sitting over there. He knows nothing about health, but he is becoming the health minister. That is the fallacy of India, basically, not in the even in the central government, even in the state governments. In the most states, you see the person who is least educated or knows least about the health, he becomes the health minister, who don't even have a vision what to do. That is the
Very true.
most.
That is very true.
So you have to have a vision. What I want to see my country or my state in the coming 5 years or 10 years. So you have to start the planning. The country will never change to a US-like thing in just 10 days or in a 10 months thing. You have to plan for that. And this elderly population is growing. So even if you don't take care of this population, in the coming months, that will become much more dangerous situation, basically. And the government funds will also be there to support these people.
Okay.
Caring for someone with dementia is one of the toughest journeys, but you don't have to do it alone. I'm Allison Schreier, and my experience caring for my husband inspired me to create Zinnia, a therapeutic streaming service designed to support people living with dementia and reduce caregiver stress. Zinnia offers research-backed videos intentionally created for people with dementia, engaging, calming, and easy to follow. Whether you need to ease agitation, create moments of joy, or make daily routines smoother, Zinnia is here to help. Family and professional caregivers use our content to turn challenges into opportunities for connection. Accessible by subscription on mobile devices and connected TVs, Zinnia is simple to use whenever you need it. Because when caregiving feels easier, life feels better. Go to zinniatv.com and sign up for a free trial today. Use the code RESOURCE for 15% off an annual Zinnia subscription.
Pankaj, anything you want to add to that?
The two, again, just a quick two things. One is when Dr. Debnath said about the funds, when the first budget came in for the eldercare sector, this is I think around 6-7 years back. The money had to go back next year because they didn't know where to spend. So just
Then
imagine
how to spend, where to
a
spend.
budget was authorized, I think this was 10 years back, 700 crores, which is a reasonable good amount of money. They didn't know how to spend it, so it got back to the government again. That is one part. So you need to have a vision, but you need to have implementation also of it. How do you implement it? Second is, till 10 years back, India was probably 30 years behind US or the socially developed nations in the field of elderly care. But today, we are not 30 years back. Let's say we are 15 years back or 20 years back. So we are catching up. India is catching up. India has probably overtaken a lot of developed nations in terms of technology, in sending satellites to the moon and Mars and Neptune and Pluto. But when it comes to this particular segment, we are still, in my opinion, we are still at least 15 to 20 years behind, which hopefully in the next 5 years we'll try to cover up more. The progression is reducing. But still, at the ground level, till the time the caregiver can't even read or write the basics, how do you ensure that the caregiving is happening? You can't
Absolutely,
even
absolutely.
tell him about restraints, or you can't tell him about 10,000 different other things. I can't even talk to him about a maintenance bill because he doesn't know what a bill is, what an act is. Even till 10 years back, I'm sure people could not spell the word geriatrics or gerontology.
Till now, people can't spell the word geriatric.
So we are coming out. The hen is coming out of the eggshell, but we are still a long way to become a chicken or a turkey, I would say.
Okay. Well, you know what I have found here, and this kind of got me into this industry to begin with my mom, was, we had big organizations, we had government funding, nobody knew about it. It was really kind of a secret like 40 years ago. And I got into this because I just wanted to see something different. So I consider myself a grassroots girl. I don't really coordinate with the big organizations, and I'll collaborate with them, but their visions are very, very different, because I'm not concerned about money and bottom line. I'm concerned about people's health and relationship and in good care. And that's what truly, truly motivates me. And so, when I first got in, I pretty much self-funded and just at first I was going after the big companies and the government to you got to change. And I felt like a bear trying to claw up a tree. And the reception was pretty poor on that. So then I just thought, okay, I'm just going to start talking to other people that have the same belief and just kind of build that up and expand the voices and let more people's voices be heard. And that's kind of what Alzheimer's Speaks does, is talk with people around the world at all levels and let families share their story. Let people with dementia in early onset talk about that, which back in the day people didn't even feel safe coming out saying that they had the disease. So we've come a long ways, but I just really want to encourage you that as a grassroots effort, there is so much that you can do when you start talking with others that understand the need. The power is unbelievable, because it's not always, the dollars are nice to have, but the connections and the insight and the support are really, to me, even more critical. And as you build on those things and expand your base, then the funding, can come, and you can really start showing what you've achieved, when you go in with these bills, maybe finding out which one of your legislators, who's been touched by this, and seeing if you can find a buddy there that has experienced what a actual family has experienced, to back something. And but it's a slow process. I know that. And it can be very, very frustrating, but surrounding yourself with others that are like-minded is just it's a lifeline. It's a sanity booster. And because sometimes there can be dark days when you're thinking, what am I doing this for? When you keep getting turned down. And but you guys are doing really important work, so I just want you to know that. Anything else that either of you wanted to add?
No, I think we are good. I think we have tried to touch base on most of the important aspects.
Okay.
And Dr. Dipankar, any last suggestions from
No,
you?
nothing as such, because see, another most important thing what I feel is the population. Okay, that is a huge population base. What is the number of population and the education? So in India, if you can sign your name, you are taken for granted that you are a literate person. If you can write your name or a signature, but that is not called literacy. Basically, you are bluffing the people. Unless people get educated, literacy rate is high, they understand what is the problem and the needs. You can't teach them anything. So they have to understand what is their problem, what is their needs, basically, first thing. And this huge population, as the number of this population, especially the uneducated bunch goes up, so the problem is going to increase, basically. That is another major part.
Okay. Well, wonderful. Well, I really appreciate both of you taking the time to share your insights with me and what's going on. I find it fascinating that the differences and the similarities, around the world when it comes to dementia and our care culture. So, in wrapping up, you can reach out to either of these gentlemen. You can go to the website elderlycareindia.org, and you can also go to that organization, reach out to them on LinkedIn. And then the Dr. Debacker has 60 plus care .in, which is also a website, and you can also find that on LinkedIn as well. 60 plus clinic and caring for elders on LinkedIn. But we'll have all that information in the show notes. For our audience, I always ask you to be a giver of hope. Like, click, and share, not because I want the numbers, but because I want this information spread. It takes no time, doesn't cost you any money, but getting this information out to people and letting them know that these resources are available. And, maybe some of you in our audience want to collaborate with them as well and help them expand the work that they're doing. That would be absolutely fantastic to see. So again, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Really appreciated your time.
Thank you, Lori, for having us.
Thank
It was a very good discussion and a lot of learning from your practical experience. And it was an honor to be here. I would say thank you and namaskar.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Lori, for this opportunity and there to namaskar. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Right. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Attention seniors, are you looking for a community that offers incredible benefits and stands up for your values? Look no further than AMAC. With an AMAC membership, you'll enjoy exclusive discounts on insurance, travel, dining, and shopping. Stay informed with 6 issues a year of our award-winning AMAC magazine, delivering trusted news and valuable insights. But that's not all. AMAC is committed to defending America's future by directly bringing the voices of our more than 2 million members to our elected officials. Join a community that cares about your needs and your values. For a limited time, we're offering a 1-year membership for only $1. Yes, just $1 for a year of incredible benefits and advocacy. Don't wait. Take advantage of this special offer and join AMAC today. Visit amac.us/join now. That's amac.us/join now.